Welcome to the Existential Empath Podcast. My name is Tanya, and I am an intuitive empath. My intention is to share valuable tips, tools, and techniques that I have learned so you can tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively. Welcome back, everyone. Today I have guest Angela Gray. Angela is a certified life coach and hypnotherapist who brings modern coaching to the new classic woman. Angie is passionate about helping women heal and create the lives they desire through subconscious techniques like EFT tapping, neuro-linguistic programming, and hypnosis. She also incorporates her knowledge of ancient spiritual practices such as Hooponopono and tarot. Angie brings her experiences of being a second-generation Filipina, exploring the intersections of culture, spirituality, and healing to her coaching methods. Her Mahal method combines mindset mastery, the subconscious mind, universal laws, manifestation, integrative health, and ancestral healing. Welcome, Angie. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So you and I, we're going to dive into a fun topic. We're going to talk about Hooponopono, the Hawaiian practice of reconciliation and forgiveness. So you and I both do EFT tapping. That's one of the modalities that I utilize a lot. And I've actually incorporated Hooponopono into the end of my EFT tapping. And so let's dive into this a little bit more. What is Hooponopono for those out there who have never even heard of this practice before?
So Hooponopono is the ancient tradition of forgiveness. It was created by the Huna in Hawaii. And what it is 4 sentences, and you think whatever the issue is, you acknowledge it, you tell him, her, it, whatever it is, that you love them and you thank them, and then you release them. So in essence, it's a cord cutting meditation. And it's just really good for helping you ground and balance those icky feelings that you get when you're stuck and you're just stuck.
Yeah.
And liking someone or something.
Yeah. And so they've done this for thousands of years, right? So this practice goes back a long time, right?
It does. Yes.
Yeah. And it can be so healing. And so let's dive into forgiveness a little bit, because I know that you utilize these practices within your Mahal method. And we'll talk about the Mahal method later on in the show, but I want to talk about the importance of forgiveness and who do we need to forgive, because I notice with a lot of my clients, this is a stumbling block for many people, just being able to understand why we need to forgive and the importance of that within our own physical energy system. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. And I love that you asked that question. Who do we need to forgive? Even my teachers, when I brought it up, they were like, oh, that is a good idea. You do need to forgive yourself first. So I always start with forgiving yourself first. So many people teach Hooponopono as a way of forgiving others, forgiving the past. And yes, you will get there. But first you have to forgive the version of yourself that allowed these things to happen.
Absolutely.
If you do not forgive yourself, then you're going to keep repeating the patterns that you're trying to, overcome. So forgiveness is the very first step in manifestation. When I teach my clients, you have to kind of wipe the slate clean in order to make the painting of whatever it is that you're wanting to paint. Right?
Absolutely. And it's so important to forgive ourselves from all of those deep-seated emotions, guilt, shame, unworthiness, not feeling like you didn't do the right thing, or, not feeling like you didn't do your best in the situation, whatever it may be. There's so many layers to the onion when it comes to forgiving yourself. And oftentimes when we use the word forgiveness, we think of other people, right? We think of people outside of ourselves that, oh, I have to forgive them for what they did to me. But really, it's so key, like you just mentioned, we have to look within ourselves first. We really have to dive deep and say, what do I need to forgive myself for? And it's so healing when you can actually dive into your own, energetic system, your own physical body, and heal what you haven't been able to heal. And so, what I guess when it comes to forgiving yourself, where do we start? Where do we begin when we move forward in that practice?
So I usually do my I just call it a forgiveness ceremony, and I usually do it at night. Most of the time I'll do it at night or first thing in the morning. And it's kind of part of my nightly routine. I do it so often that I can just go there, say the sentences and the mantra and repeat. But you make it as part of your normal routine. It doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't even have to be weekly. It could be monthly or even less, but as long as you think about it, I say whenever you're stuck and you cannot seem to move forward, you've tried everything and nothing is changing, that's usually a good sign that you need to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
If you see a pattern happening over and over, it's time to sit with yourself and say, what can I do? What can I change? Where am I not allowing progress? And it's going to be it's not a one and done thing. It's a lifelong process, because there's, like you said, there's
It's a
layers of the
practice,
onion.
right?
all new things will come up. Things you thought you released will come back up, because now you're ready to release another aspect of that thing, of that memory, of that version of you.
Yeah, because it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. One
Deeper and
technique,
deeper.
Angie, that I, share with my clients, and that I kind of stumbled upon myself when I started learning about Hooponopono and tapping. I correlated them together. And what I still do sometimes, is I look in the mirror and I tap on my thymus gland, which is right here. And I say the Hooponopono prayer. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I look myself in the eyes in the mirror. And when I first started this practice, I noticed I couldn't look myself in the eye. And then when I did, I started crying and I had all of these emotions. Then I would get angry and I would have, like you talked about, all of these levels and layers of peeling of the onion. All these emotions started to come to the surface. And the more I did that, the more I noticed over the course of time, I started to see and feel more compassion for myself as I continue that practice. And in the beginning, I could only do it maybe once a week because I would get so emotional. But now it's like, I love you, girl. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Now it's like, I have a different energy behind it. Before it was more shameful, maybe guilt was coming up. There were so many emotions coming up, and now I can feel the worthiness coming out. And so that's a very simple practice that you can do. You can teach your kids to do, but I think the key is to look yourself in the mirror, because that takes it to a whole new level, because you're literally looking yourself in the eye to, seek permission to forgive yourself, and that's one of the hardest things that we as humans can do here on this planet.
That mirror work is tough at first. Oh my gosh, it is so tough, but wow.
Powerful.
The other end of it is worth it. It is so worth it. It is so hard at first, but man, it's worth it.
And just kind of listen to your body and allow yourself to to do it. Because I think for me, it was kind of nagging at me, like, why can't I love myself? Why can't I forgive myself? And then I knew this is where the soft spot is. This is where I need to heal. And so, Angie, let's talk about the benefits of forgiveness, whether you're forgiving yourself or you're forgiving others. What are some of the good things that come out of this?
Well, on the scientific side of it, it helps release anxiety, helps release stress, all of that. But on the manifestation side and the spiritual side of it, it just helps you, like you said, see more compassion for not only yourself, but everyone else as well, especially those who trigger you,
Yes.
because you start to see, oh, yeah, that person's a mirror for me. What is it about this person that's bothering me? What is it in me
Mhm.
that I'm seeing in him or her? And where can I have compassion for her or him and ultimately myself?
Yeah.
Right?
And that's powerful. I mean, because you're consciously kind of observing a situation between you and another individual and
Mhm.
stepping back and saying, why is this triggering me? What is it about them that's triggering me? And then what is it about me that's creating this trigger? That's
Mhm.
powerful.
And that helps so many relationships
Mhm.
that you have to have, because you don't you can cut ties with anyone, but there are some relationships you have to have, and you can cut ties, you can cut cords energetically, but they will always be there.
Mhm.
So that's a good way to help those relationships. I found that in my own life anyway.
Yeah, and I think too, it's important. Sometimes we do cut ties not to get rid of the other person, but to establish a connection with ourself. And I know that's been something that I've had to do recently. It's like, okay, there's something about this person that's repelling me a little bit. I don't understand what it is, but I need to just separate myself for a bit so I can do some inner work, because I know that there's a mirror there. There's something that's being created that is being brought to the surface for me to heal. And oftentimes, if that person is in your face all the time and you're like, okay, I can't take that time alone to actually really dive in and figure
Mhm.
out what is this, what is going on? Why is this being brought up to the surface? And so, I know I've talked about on several of my shows the importance of solitude and the importance of going within. And oftentimes, when we are working through forgiveness, we've got to go within first, and
Mhm.
figure out, why. You may not even be mad at the person. There might be something within you that is creating an illusion for you to be mad, at the other person. And it's
Mhm.
really just learning and diving in a little bit deeper and figuring out, why am I holding a grudge? Let's talk about grudges. Let's talk about the energetics behind grudges. I'm an Aries. I don't hold grudges. I'm just like, I may be mad and then I bubble and then I'm over it. It's like, okay, but I've got some friends, I got a friend who's a Cancer, and I've got, a lot of different friends who will hold on to things. But let's talk about the energetics behind grudges, because this plays, kind of ties hand in hand with forgiveness.
Mhm. It's the opposite end of the spectrum.
It is.
Mhm. It's like when you hold a grudge, you're creating that tenseness within yourself, because that other person may or may not, but probably doesn't even know or care that you're so upset at them about something that they may or may not have done. It was probably your reaction to something they did, or it triggered something. But that just keeps you in that loop of the things in the past that you're trying to overcome so that you can be the person you want to be.
Yeah, and it keeps your energy stagnant and
Mhm.
stuck. And so, when we look at energy, and this is how I explain it, when we trap emotions, they could be the size of a penny to the size of a volleyball. I mean, it really just depends on how long you have trapped that unprocessed emotion
And
in your
how
body.
much
And
energy.
grudges are like the number one way to go from the size of a penny to the size of a volleyball. I mean,
Mhm.
it's really just sitting back and forgiving yourself and then forgiving that other person. And I like to, use the practice of, asking people to release me, because oftentimes people are holding on to you energetically. And, I would experience this with my family. They would be like, I'm worried about you. Okay, well, worry is creating an energetic cord with me and I'm totally fine, So I was sensing, being highly empathic, that they were kind of restricting my energy flow with their worry because they were projecting that onto me. So I said, I ask you to release me, and once I did that, it was like, oh God, that felt so good. And you don't have to do it in person. You don't have to physically say it. You can do it spirit to spirit, but really it's just oftentimes that's how we connect cords, is just by, worrying about someone or sending someone ill intent or, whatever it may be. But just really sitting with yourself and, asking people to release you. And that's been powerful for me, and asking myself to release them too, giving myself permission to say, okay, I release this version of me. I release this version of them, and I release it. And then if they're meant to come back into my life at some point, then we'll be different versions of ourselves, and so when you look at it from an energetic standpoint where you and I are, it's very powerful.
Exactly.
So you work a lot with ancestral healing. Let's talk about how reconciliation and forgiveness can help heal our ancestral lineage and go back and release those emotions generationally.
Yeah. So when you forgive yourself, when you forgive things that are going on in your present time now, or even in your past, you can forgive things in your future. Like when you have anxiety, you're freaking out about something that hasn't even happened yet. So you forgive yourself for freaking out, and then, it balances it out. But when whatever you do in your lifetime now, it helps 14 generations forward and backward.
Wow.
And 14 like
lateral.
lateral. Yeah. To whoever is open to it. So, I forgive so and so or something. My cousins who are open to that energy, whether they are aware or not, they also receive that healing. My son receives that healing. My husband receives that healing. My close friends receive that healing. So ancestral means everyone connected to you. And when you forgive yourself, the generations who have already come before you, they're still there. They're still rooting for you because time and space are not real. Yep. But that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother podcast.
They're rooting for you. They're excited for you. They're happy for you because you're able to do things that they couldn't do for various different reasons. And you're helping your whole family move forward. And it's beautiful. Yeah, it's just beautiful.
It really is. And I've noticed that where I've worked on a certain, issue in my life, and then I will call my parents, and then I'll notice that they'll mention it, or they'll say, a situation happened, and I'm like, whoa, like that was pretty quick that just happened. And so, to see the physical validation of the energy clearing work that we do is priceless. And, just to know that went past my parents, and on to my deceased grandmother and her entire line and all the way back. And I just visualize them all around me, like, thank you, applauding me, like, thank you for being conscious enough to understand that we're all attached, we're all, one, and that we can clear things through our energy system. And so, Angie, I want to switch gears a little bit because you work a lot with forgiveness and manifestation, and this is a really fun topic. And so what is the importance of forgiveness as the missing link in the manifestation process?
That's it. You said it right there. It is the missing link.
Why is it the missing link?
Well, like if you can make your vision board, say your mantras, do all the things to quote unquote manifest. But if you do not release what's not serving you, if you don't forgive yourself, if you can't forgive so-and-so or these past things, if you cannot see the lesson in it, there's no way to move forward. So you'll always have that stuck
frequency, right? You'll be holding yourself in the same vibration.
And a lot of people I see, they will say they've forgiven someone, they've moved on, but their actions and their energy or something will keep pulling them back. And they don't see, you still have forgiveness work. And it's not a bad thing. Forgiveness work is not a bad thing.
No.
It doesn't. doesn't mean anything.
No. And you'll know when you have reached forgiveness because you'll have a peace. You'll have a peace
Yeah.
in your heart when someone brings up that person's name or that circumstance, you won't be fazed by it. And that's when you'll have that aha moment of, I've healed
Hmm.
this. This
Yeah,
isn't,
you don't have that feeling,
yeah,
that
that
gut punch, that
Mhm.
chest, your chest doesn't get tight anymore. And you're like, oh yeah, I can talk about that without crying,
Yeah.
without being angry.
Yeah, and that's a good indicator is just listening to your body and
Mhm.
seeing how your body feels when that person's name or circumstance comes up. And then that's when you can really say, oh, wow, the healing work is
It's
working.
such a good feeling too when you notice those things. It's like, oh, that's done.
Yes.
Wow.
On to the next layer.
Yeah, on to the next.
And so, Angie, in my journey, I've learned that trust is a huge component to manifesting your desires. And, forgiveness and trust kind of go hand in hand. And oftentimes, when you're upset with someone, it's because they've betrayed your trust. And so that's why forgiveness is so important when it comes to manifesting. But, what is some advice that you can give to people that are really struggling with overcoming trust issues or having a hard time forgiving and they're just really latched on and really holding on hard?
I would say keep your promises to yourself, because when you're not trusting other people or, trusting the process, you have to learn to trust yourself first. There's something in there telling you not to trust yourself.
Mhm.
So when you learn to trust yourself, you can learn to trust other people and other circumstances, and you can learn to trust the process. Because in the beginning, this whole trust the process is super hard.
It's scary.
It's so hard because everything you've experienced is telling you, no, 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 I cannot trust what I don't know. I can't, there's no promise there, you know. But once you start keeping your own promises to yourself, like waking up at the time you say you're going to wake up, working out, eating well, drinking water, these little things that a lot of people would think that they're just, oh, it's just not a big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal. It adds up to a big deal in your subconscious mind, because you're telling yourself, I'm going to do this thing. And then repeatedly, you don't do the thing that you said you were going to do. So that just creates even more lack of self-trust.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's like you're betraying yourself a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
in there. And so I think when we work on forgiveness, we have to work on trust because they do go together. And so when you're moving through that process of Hooponopono and you're healing, and reconciling with yourself and with others, and then you're forgiving, move forward into trust, after that, because I do feel that those three go hand in hand:
Mm-hmm.
reconciliation, forgiveness, and trust. And trust is a big one for many people. I know for me, I had a lot of trust in myself and others, almost too trustworthy. As a child, I would over trust people and then I'd
Mm-hmm.
get burned. Where now I'm learning that process of trusting the universe and trusting that I'm taken care of, and not worrying about things like I used to. I was really programmed as a child to worry. My whole family were worry warts. And so worry is the opposite of trust because you're
Yeah.
not, you're not believing that you're taken care of. And so if you have worry in your heart and you're sending it to others, then stop doing that, as much
Mm-hmm.
as you can, because that is also a frequency of lack. And when
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to when you are manifesting, when you are in the process of manifesting, you don't want to incorporate those types of emotions of worry and lack and fear, because it's only going to cause restrictions,
Mm-hmm.
in what you're working on creating.
And it's hard sometimes to distinguish between worry and care about someone else.
Yes.
And when I started learning about all of, the subconscious feelings, what they do, what they actually are, I was like, oh, I thought I was like caring for this person, thinking about what's happening with them, not realizing, oh, I'm sitting out the wrong energy to this person that I want to be thinking of. So let me picture in my mind what I want to happen for them, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
And
because
that's,
when you're worrying, you're visualizing them in a place that's not positive, right? You're
Mhm.
worrying that they're going to be hurt or they aren't doing well or whatever the circumstance is. But when you're caring about them, you're sending them a more positive. I visualize them in a healthy place. I visualize them happy. I see them living their best version of
Mhm.
themselves, and that's a different vibration. And I love that you brought that up because I haven't really looked at that, the difference between worry and care. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I don't even know if I ever really mentioned that until now because of something you just said. But yes, making sure that you send out the care that you actually want to send out and not the worry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's meaningful. And so, Angie, let's talk about your services that you provide and all the amazing things that you're doing. What's the Mahal method?
So the Mahal method is my signature method of coaching. Mahal means love in Filipino, in Tagalog. I'm half Filipino. So this whole journey of mine started with the mirror work, looking myself in the eyes, and that was so hard. And then I realized, oh, I need to work on this self-love thing, you know? And Mahal means love. Um, so that's why I decided to name my program the Mahal Method, because it all starts with how you care and love for yourself. And that starts with forgiving the part of you that allowed certain things to continue on, you know?
Yeah.
And then from there we go on to the fun stuff of the manifestation, you know? What
You
most
got to get
people
rid of the junk before you can get to the gold, right? You got to sift out all
exactly.
of the dirt before you can get to the gold.
Exactly. If you're gonna go shopping, you got to make room in the closet, right? But from there, we go on to really going back and balancing the energies from your past so that you can create and manifest that life that you want. Um, what you
How long is the
can
Mahal method? How long do you see progress? How long do you usually work with people?
Usually it starts out at 6 weeks, you know, but I've worked with people 3 months and 6 months. But to start, the very, very, very start, just to even get your, the introduction of it all is 6 weeks. From there, we're able to go through, you know, what it is that we need to do to get you where you need to go. Um, I work with people one-on-one, and in May, I'm sorry, March, I'm releasing my group program.
Oh,
That
nice.
will be 6 weeks as well.
And
So
this is all online.
this is all online, yes. Hmm.
I love it. I love it. I work all online too. And I think, we're in a new age now where
Yeah,
energy is everywhere. We are energy.
everywhere.
Yeah. And so
Yes.
we don't have to be in person anymore. And I'm okay with that.
Yep.
I love it. So, Angie, how can people connect with you if they want to learn more about the Mahal method and the services you provide? Where can they reach you?
You can go to my website. It's www.thenewclassicwoman.com. And you can also find me on Instagram at I am Angie Gray. Angie Gray is spelled ANJIGRAY.
Great. And do you only work with women?
I do not only work with women, I will work with men. Everyone who wants to work with me, we have to meet first.
Mhm.
Like I can't, the energy has to be there.
Yeah.
But I do work with men, but mostly women.
Well,
Mhm.
that's wonderful. Well, Angie, I appreciate you coming on the show today. And this
Thank
was
you for
such
having
a
me.
meaningful conversation because, many of us out there don't know where to even begin when it comes to our healing. And if we can start with forgiveness, then we're on the right path, right?
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Well, is there anything you'd like to add before we end the show?
Just thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate it. This was such a fun conversation.
You deserve to navigate your life in alignment with health, happiness, and abundance. To learn more about the services that I provide, including Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, EFT tapping, and the Emotion Code, visit my website at www.theexistentialempath.com.